Rise, Meg.
What is thy bidding, my master?
The Mandalorian Season 2 finale saw Moff Gideon being defeated at the hands of Mando and captured to be handed over by Cara Dune to the New Republic. It would seem as though Moff Gideon had lost, but what if I told you that his true plan all along involved him losing? In this video, I'm going to explain Moff Gideon's real plan in Chapter 16 and why he didn't particularly care about being defeated at the hands of Mando and the rest of our heroes. By the time Din had arrived on Moff Gideon's Imperial light cruiser, we see Gideon wielding the Darksaber next to a captive Grogu. He claims that he already got what he wanted, the child's blood. Blood that would help in the cloning facility the Imperial Remnant had been working on. But here's the thing, that project may just be one of many that Moff Gideon had already set in motion by the time our heroes come to rescue Grogu. In essence, just like many other devotees to the Empire, Moff Gideon didn't care what happened next because in his mind, even if he were to be defeated, it wouldn't affect the overall victory for the Empire. But there's way more to uncover here. Think back to the end of Chapter 15, The Believer. Mando sent out a warning message to Gideon telling him that he was coming for Grogu. While this added dramatic effect to the episode, we have to consider that truly Moff Gideon was not intimidated. If he had truly wanted, Gideon could have fled from Mando or rallied more forces around him. But the thing is, by time Din arrives at the light cruiser location, all Moff Gideon had to his defense were the Dark Troopers, which he depended on heavily. Gideon seemed to immediately suspect that the incoming shuttle was in the hands of his enemies, most likely recognizing Bo-Katan's voice too. He denied it permission, but bear in mind that this refusal was most likely just a test. We have to bear in mind that Gideon knows that those still loyal to the Empire are mostly officers who are willing to sacrifice their lives if orders call for it. So when our heroes ignored the command and boarded the ship anyway, it was a clear sign of an infiltration. Gideon responded calmly, watching them board his cruiser without making any hard efforts to stop it. Putting Mando aside, Gideon had a more important target for his plans, Bo-Katan. Moff Gideon knew that Bo-Katan would be accompanying Din Djarin. When Mando enters the cell that Grogu and Gideon are in, Gideon gloats that the Darksaber once belonged to Bo-Katan. The exact words he uses are, "I know you've been traveling with Bo-Katan. A friendly piece of advice, assume that I know everything." Moff Gideon is aware of the significance of the Darksaber, that whomever rightly wields it is the ruler of Mandalore, and therefore Bo-Katan needs it in order to reclaim Mandalore. We all know that the New Republic is Gideon's primary enemy, but it has become more apparent that Mandalorians have also emerged as a significant foe. When he went down to the brig, Moff Gideon probably already knew that he was likely to be defeated in combat by Mando. However, after Mando disarmed him and held him at spear point, Gideon merely smiled and said, "You're sparing my life. This should be interesting." It was not the reaction of a man who had suffered a devastating defeat, but of a man who was pleased that he would get to witness the results of a successful plan. In ensuring that the Darksaber went to a Mandalorian indifferent to the fate of Mandalore, Gideon robbed Bo-Katan of a weapon she desperately wanted and needed. But we must ask ourselves, what was the end goal for Moff Gideon, and what was his ultimate plan? Moff Gideon is a strategic and cunning enemy. As such, he probably came up with a plan that had many contingencies and potential outcomes. We all know full well that he was happy to die at the hands of Mando as long as he got to humiliate Bo-Katan in the process and sabotage her attempt to become the rightful ruler of Mandalore. Another thing to consider is how little Gideon seemed to care about the attack on his light cruiser. We can presume that it's because at least part of his ultimate goal was already in action somewhere else in the galaxy, perhaps even on Kamino. Grogu's blood was the most vital aspect of ensuring the Empire would eventually win. The information he gathered from studying the child's blood was undoubtedly handed over to another big bad, an enemy hiding in the shadows, and it's now being used either to bring back the one true Emperor, Granddaddy Palps, or as some have suggested, to create Force-sensitive soldiers who are loyal to the Empire. We have to wait an entire year to see Moff Gideon's plans play out, but I'm sure it will be worth the wait.